Good morning to the Honorable Council of Ministers, members of the media, the general public, those tuned in via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, and our live St. Martin Gov Facebook broadcast viewers. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Marcia Gomes-Popel-Tui. Welcome to the Council of Ministers press briefing for Wednesday, January the 9th, 2019. The press briefing is now officially open and invite to the podium Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Development, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Nicholas Heaterson, to address you.
Good morning, Prime Minister, fellow ministers, press, and audience members viewing and listening. As this is my first press briefing for the year, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and prosperous 2019. I'll be starting off today's briefing with a reminder. In December, I spoke on the ministry's intent to tackle the issues of the number of dilapidated structures still standing and the health and safety risks these structures pose. This month, the Inspection Department will start drafting an overview of all structures that need to be restored or demolished. The owners of these dilapidated houses and building structures will be contacted by the Inspection Department to provide a specific plan of approach. If nothing happens from the side of the owners within a given grace period, the ministry will start enforcement actions. I urge all concerned to work with us to avoid having your structures removed at your expense. I continue with the Beacon Hill roadworks. Residents and visitors to the Beacon Hill area are reminded of ongoing work and traffic interruptions connected with the Beacon Hill Drainage Project, which will continue until the 15th of this month. Motorists are advised to pay close attention to road closures and deviation signs and to drive with caution while they are in the area. Moving on. Through a collaboration with the Ministry of VSA, during the course of the last months, approximately 20 families have been provided assistance with roofing materials through a generous donation from the Church of Latter-day Saints. This initiative targeted persons in need of roofing materials that were able to cover the labor costs associated with the repairs of their individual roofs. After social verification by VSA and technical assessments on the homes by VROMI to verify eligibility, half of the building materials were delivered to the homeowners that qualified. After a midpoint inspection by the Ministry of VROMI, the homeowners will receive the other half of the materials. I'd like to thank our counterparts within the Ministry of VSA for their collaborative work and look forward to providing a full update at the completion of this project. And lastly, roof repairs. Bidding will close tomorrow for Phase 1 of the Recovery and Resilience Trust Fund's roof repair project. This small project of 14 homes serve as a pilot for the larger roof repair project using the trust fund. Once the submitted bids have been evaluated, it is the intention to assign the project in as short time as possible so that works may start. The larger Phase 2 roof repair program has also started, and there is an ongoing tender for the assessment of the remaining homes. This concludes my press briefing for today. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heaterson, for those opening remarks. At this time, I invite to the podium Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, the Honorable Wycliffe Smith, to address you.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all gathered here this morning. Madam Prime Minister, Honorable colleague ministers, the Department of Communications, members of the press, as well as the listening and viewing audiences via radio, television, and social media. Good morning, Soaliga. Yesterday, Cynric Griffith was laid to rest. Those of us who attended his homegoing service celebrated the life of a painter, an educator, a master artist, a cultural giant, and an ambassador of St. Martin. Mr. Cynric Griffith spent his years on St. Martin capturing the spirit of her people and the beauty of the island. Time and again, we have heard it said, Mr. Griffith was able to bear the soul of his muse when he put paint to canvas, or to any other surface for that matter. Each piece of art was a masterpiece worthy of admiration. By garnering the attention of every eye that beheld them, his paintings transported others to this island that he made home and guaranteed a love for this paradise. On behalf of the entire Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, as well as the Council of Ministers, I can say that St. Martin mourns along with his family, and that we will continue to honor his legacy by encouraging the development of the arts in our future generations. On Monday, I, along with Dr. Yvette Halley, head of the Division of Exams, and who's also our local CXC registrar, we were invited to give information about the CXC examination system to representatives from the parliaments of Curaçao, Aruba, and also St. Martin, as they held the tripartite discussions here on Monday. One of the topics of the discussion at the tripartite meeting was cooperation between the countries in the area of education, and particularly at the level of the CXE examinations for secondary education. The information presented was well received, and Aruba, particularly, where English is widely spoken, wants to definitely follow up with our local CXE registrar to get more information on the CXE system. Since my time in office as minister, I have committed to issuing quarterly newsletters to my fellow ministers and to the general public. I believe it is necessary to share in the pursuit of transparency and accountability. The second edition of my newsletter, Mackey's Moves 2, is available online. You can find the link on the Facebook page of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport. And you will also be able to find this edition, as promised, the vacation schedules for the next 3 academic years. Mentioned also in this edition of Mackey's Moves are the options available for study financing. The division Study Financing is now accepting applications online for continuing higher education at home, within the region, or internationally. Please note that the deadline for applying for the regular study financing is January 15th. Persons who may not qualify for regular study financing still have the opportunity to get financial support to study via the program Study in the Region. The region is broad, so this program enables you to study right here at the University of St. Martin and at any recognized college or university in the Caribbean, in the United States, or even in Central or South America. The deadline for the Study in the Region program is January 31st, 2019, and the application process is the same as the one for regular study financing, which means you have to apply online. Information about these study financing options are mentioned in my newsletter as well as on the ministry's Facebook page, and you can also access the information via the website, Study Financing, one word, studyfinancing.sx. Once again, I would like to remind everybody that this Sunday, January 13th, the government, in collaboration with the St. Martin Council of Churches, the St. Martin United Ministerial Foundation, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, will be holding the 14th annual National Day of Prayer. This ecumenical service, which is held on the second Sunday of each new year, was decreed in 2005 by Executive Council resolution of the then island territory of St. Martin, and has since become part and parcel of the annual cultural calendar of program and activities of government. The National Day of Prayer offers the opportunity for us as a people to come together and to give God thanks for his guidance, mercy, and protection during the year that has passed, and to also seek his guidance, his direction, protection, and wisdom during the new year. As Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, I take this opportunity to invite people of all faiths to come together on Sunday, January 13th, to pray for our nation and to use this opportunity to remain united and focused. United as one people as we move forward, and focused on the needs of our people and our country. The service will be held in front of the Government Administration Building starting at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much for watching and for listening, and I'll be available for any questions if you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Smith, for those opening remarks. Also joining us today is Minister Healings, but he will not be making any opening remarks, but is available for questions from the media. At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium the Prime Minister, Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Leona Romeo-Marlin, to address you.
Good morning to all, my colleagues, members of the press. Good morning, St. Martin, and I would like to echo the same sentiments of the Minister of Romy of wishing everyone a Happy New Year. I pray that this year is the year of implementation, one of unity, clarity, one where we stay focused. I pray for God's favor and guidance as we proceed as Council of Ministers in executing the tasks that were given to us. I would like to reaffirm my support to the members of the Council of Ministers as we continue to implement the governing program and the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. I have a few notes today. On December 28, 2018, the National Ordnance Integrity Chamber and the National Decree Execution Integrity Chamber went into effect, thus legally formalizing the establishment of the Integrity Chamber of St. Martin. In April of 2018, both St. Martin and the Netherlands appointed a quartermaster, Mr. Raphael Boosman and Mr. Hans Lodder, respectively, who were charged with the setting up of the chamber. Their assignment entailed three main components. The first being a draft function book for the Secretariat of the Integrity Chamber, outlining the function requirements and responsibilities and salaries. The second advised on the remuneration of the members and assistant members of the Integrity Chamber and that of the members and assistant members of the Supervisory Council. And lastly, locate and prepare for operations a suitable location for the offices of the Integrity Chamber in accordance with the criteria given to them. The quartermasters were each assisted by an assistant and received the cooperation of the staff of the Ministry of General Affairs and the Cabinet of the Ministry of General Affairs of St. Martin and the Ministry of BZK and the Department of the Kingdom Relations in the Netherlands. The process in making the Integrity Chamber fully operational is still ongoing, and the following steps are presently in execution. The first being the appointment of the members of the Chamber, the appointment of the members of the Supervisory Council, and lastly, the hiring of the staff for the Secretariat. Recruitment will be done by Linkles and Partners. I would like to thank the quartermasters and those assisting them for the work done thus far, and look forward to the finalization of their assignment and a fully operational Integrity Chamber very soon. I will also keep the public informed on the progress made as more information becomes available. Yesterday, during the meeting of the Council of Ministers, the decision was taken to appoint Mr. Claret Connor as Director of the National Recovery Program Bureau. As Director of the National Recovery Program Bureau, Mr. Connor will be responsible for the execution of the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. With the appointment of Mr. Connor as Director of the NRPB, we are one step closer to building the much required capacity to execute the National Recovery and Resilience Plan for the people of St. Martin. He brings to the table a wealth of knowledge and experience that will definitely add to the successful execution of the projects financed by the World Bank Trust Fund. The National Recovery Program Bureau, once properly staffed, will take over the tasks that are currently being executed by the Interim Recovery Committee and will be responsible for the day-to-day operation, coordination, execution, and evaluation of the projects that will be financed through the World Bank Trust Fund. The NRPB will play a central role in project management while working closely with the ministries and third parties for the design of the projects. My last announcement: over the past months, the government of St. Martin has worked closely with the Netherlands, the World Bank, and the European Investment Bank to secure necessary funding for the full recovery and strengthening of the Princess Juliana International Airport. The government has initiated this process based on a request for financial assistance by the airport. The discussions with the Netherlands, the World Bank, and the European Investment Bank have resulted in a financing proposal of $100 million for the reconstruction of the terminal and related facilities. Under this proposal, $50 million will be provided as a grant from the World Bank Trust Fund to the government of St. Martin, which will be loaned to the airport under favorable conditions. An additional $50 million will become available as a loan through the European Investment Bank. As reported in the media, the Netherlands, as the donor of the World Bank Trust Fund, has made the approval of the airport financing by the steering committee conditional on the completion of an integrity check of the airport, a corporate governance risk assessment, and on attracting international expertise to fill a temporary position in the supervisory board of the holding company and a position in the management of the PJIAE. I will repeat. As reported in the media, the Netherlands, as the donor of the World Bank Trust Fund, has made the approval of the airport financing by the steering committee conditional on the completion of an integrity check of the airport, a corporate governance risk assessment, and on attracting international expertise to fill a temporary position in the supervisory board of the holding company and a position in the management of the PJIAE. During yesterday's meeting, the Council of Ministers discussed the proposal for financial assistance to the airport by the World Bank and the European Investment Bank under the conditions set by the Netherlands. In its discussion on this matter, the Council Ministers took note of the requested update from the holding company on alternative financing options. In this update of 28th of December, the holding company informed the Council of Ministers that the airport was not able at this time to provide any detailed information or recommendation to the Council of Ministers on the preparation of an alternative option for the financing of the reconstruction of the airport terminal. Based on the information received from the Netherlands and the update of the holding company, the Council of Ministers has decided to express its support for airport financing through the World Bank and the European Investment Bank under the conditions set by the Government of the Netherlands. In approving these conditions, the Council of Ministers underlined that international expertise to fill positions in the holding and in the management of the airport should be attracted for a maximum period of 2 years. In conclusion, the approval of the Council of Ministers is an important step in securing the necessary funding and formalizing the $100 million for the reconstruction of the airport through the World Bank and the European Investment Bank, including a much-needed bridge loan to address the pressing liquidity situation of the airport. These have been my responses for today, or notes for today. I thank you and I await any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Prime Minister Leona Romeo Marlin, for those opening remarks. At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium Minister of Justice, the Honorable Cornelius de Wever, to address you.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Bobatry. Prime Minister, colleague ministers, press. Good morning, St. Martin. Just a couple announcements. As far as the prison are concerned, I'd like to announce that the GED courses have started, as well as the basic English courses for those inmates who are willing to receive them and, of course, improve themselves and their rehabilitation efforts. The work also on the roof is continuing. It will be finalized hopefully by the end of the month. The main prison area has been completely secured and taken care of. However, over the kitchen, there is additional work that needs to be done, and that will be done in the next coming week or two. And other news, Prime Minister did not mention it, but I'd like to thank her very much for her assistance with the World Bank, because the construction and the work at the police stations in Phillipsburg as well as Simpson Bay will commence today. I'd like to thank her for her support and make sure that this happened, and I thank you, and I'll await any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister de Wever, for those opening remarks. If you have just joined us, you're watching the Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, January 9, 2019. We will now go over to the question and answer session. The floor for questions is now open for the media. Alita Singh, the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Marcia. Good morning, Prime Minister, Ministers of the Council. My first question is for the Prime Minister, and it's dealing with the airport. Of course, you just outlined while a decision has been made to go in the direction of the World Bank / the European Investment Bank proposal, it seems as though the process will take very long for the airport to even see any money. Can you say whether or not you know how long the timeline will be, considering the precarious financial situation of the airport?
Thank you, Alita, for that question. Indeed, I cannot tell you the timeline, but we do know, all parties involved know about the situation that the airport is in right now, and I can tell you that all hands are on deck. And as we speak, I believe, depending on the time in the Netherlands, it's 4 o'clock, the Minister of TEAT has been invited to a meeting to further work out some of the details as well. So it has the attention of everyone, and we know that it's a priority and that the airport is in dire need of these fundings. So it will be handled within short.
Thank you, Alita, for that question. Stephen Cyrillian, PJD2.
Prime Minister, Ministers, good morning. My question is for the Minister of Finance. Can you provide some information as it pertains to the 2019 budget?
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning to my colleagues, good morning to the press, and also to the people of St. Martin. A very, very good year for this year, I wish you, in all unity and prosperity. The 2019 budget. Let me give you a little timeline that, or at least what took place. On December 14th, the budget of Country St. Martin was actually presented to Parliament on time. Um, what happened then is at the moment when we submitted the budget, a 11th hour advice came out from the CFT stating that we still need to look at capping our expenditures. Our expenditures in the 2019 budget were at an amount of 503 million, and the CFT was of the opinion that it should have been 475 million guilders. We had a difference of vision on how you reach that amount. The amount presented by CFT was based on previous budgets from the year 2016 and 2017, and I'm of the opinion that you cannot compare those years to what happened to us in 18 and in 17. So, but in the meantime, the budget was there. It was submitted also to the Netherlands, to the Kingdom Council of Ministers for approval. While this was ongoing, I negotiated with my team with the Netherlands on how to move forward. We came to a very amicable solution, and the Council of Ministers, the Kingdom Council of Ministers, agreed that they would approve the budget as we presented, including the request for liquidity support, which they did. They rendered that approval with the recommendation to further discuss with the CFT how we can solve the difference in the amounts. That by itself was a very unique decision by the Kingdom Council. It shows the trust that they have instilled in the government of St. Martin and the way we are moving forward. As we speak, my finance department is busy tweaking that amount. We have till the mid-February to reach at an agreed amount, so we can submit it again to the CFT for a Article 11 advice before it goes to Parliament. You have noticed that whenever a minister is late with submittance of his budget, that you will get all kind of pressure from the Netherlands, you know, that you do not hold you to your deadline. As you have noticed, there is none of such happening right now, because we are working together. And that is the word that I want to put out there. It's about working together, finding consensus, and moving forward to the benefit of the country. So that is the status at the moment. So by the end of February, give and take a week or two, I hope to submit the agreed budget to Parliament. But before I can do that, once it's agreed, it still have to go to the Council of Advice. Our legal department have to look at it, the governor, you name it. So, but we are on track as agreed with the Dutch government, and I must say that I'm proud of my Council of Ministers I'm part of, in the support that I've been getting, and also from the other stakeholders as the governor and the Council of Advice. So we are on track where that is concerned. Thank you again for the questions.
Thank you, Minister Geerlings. Andrew Bishop, you have the floor.
Good morning, ministers. Happy New Year to all of you, and I wish that this year is a progressive year for you. Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you said that there will be, the Dutch government will be taking up 2 positions in the airport. I would like to know what are the positions that they do. You said one in the supervisory board and one. What positions they'll be holding there?
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. The answer to that is basically the request is for a position on the holding and a position in management. What specific positions, those details are still being discussed at this moment.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Lyndon Brown, BCN News TV.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin, and good morning to the ministers, and they come. Question to Minister Smith. Minister Smith, you said presently now, people who are submitting for study finance, do you have a number of persons that submit? And could you make it plain to the people of St. Martin what's the criteria?
Thank you very much. First of all, the students or anyone who's applying will need to have completed secondary school with good grades. They would need to be accepted into a college or a university. They would need to have the Dutch nationality. Those are some of the basic requirements. And excuse me?
The number of children that submitted already?
Well, the deadline for submitting is January 15th. So after January 15th, I can let you know exactly how many students applied. That doesn't mean that they all will have received, because the applications will still have to be reviewed by a committee. But at the end of January 15th, I can let you know how many students applied for the general study financing.
Thank you, Minister Smith. We now go over to the second round of questions. Alita, the floor is yours.
Thanks again, Marcia. To the Minister of Finance, following up on my colleague, Mrs. Cerilion's question about the budget, are we understanding correctly that a new budget will be submitted to Parliament, or will it be an adjusted budget to what's already sent to Parliament?
Thank you, Alita. Good question. Yes, what is going to happen once we have a consensus on the amount, then a note of amendment will be attached to the budget and submitted to Parliament for additional information to be the correct one. But maybe in addition also on the continuation of government and meeting our commitments to pay the bills and to pay the salaries. There are sufficient funds as we speak in our coffers to make that possible as well. Our monthly income is going up, you know, so I'm very positive. I have a very positive outlook. We just need to make sure that that continues. And again, with the cooperation of my Dutch counterpart, we're working on that diligently. So at this point in time, I'm very, very optimistic.
Thank you, Alita, for that question. Andrew Bishop, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marsha. Minister of Finance, what is the situation with regard to the tents that they had at the airport? How much did it cost this government to have those tents there? And why didn't we look at another alternative, probably to having collapsible containers instead of the tents?
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. As I'm not the minister in charge of the airport, the amount is not fully known to me. What I do know is that the tents at that time were the best option that they could take. Containers have a downside. They're smaller, the heat, you have to cool them. It's very difficult to cool, and the multitude of containers that you might need, but that's an idea that you had. But no, I'm sorry, I cannot give you any information on what the amount would have been at that time.
You find out and let me know, please, sir.
I can find it out for you, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that question. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, we aware that when there's crisis in any of the Dutch territories, financial crisis, they will help. Now there's a fear on the island in regards to the airport that it's a plan to take over. And there's a fear that the Dutch want to take over. I realize that you emphasize temporary. Could you make this clear, Prime Minister, to the people of St. Martin?
Mr. Brown, thank you for that question. I don't think that I've ever been in a discussion with any of the Netherlands counterparts where there was any indication of a takeover. I have not been privy to that information. I do know in the talks that we've had is about getting a temporary position on the holding and in management. And I know that there have been talks about trainings and ensuring that the managers at the airport have trainings, whether it's from the Schiphol group or whoever it is, for a temporary basis. Temporary never means takeover. So the fear in the public, I think that it's a false fear. And I think this is a good initiative to ensure that our airport are trained by persons with the specific expertise, especially in recovery and in the field of airport management. I think this is a plus for St. Martin, and we will eventually see the benefits of it within the future.
Thank you, Prime Minister and Lyndon, for that question. Stephen Cyrillian, the floor is yours.
My question is for the Minister of Finance. It's a three-part question. One, the license plates, how soon will that go on sale? Two, how many license plates were ordered? And three, how much are you hoping to generate from the sales of license plates?
Thank you, Stephen. A good question, because those are the questions that I have for my department also. As a matter of fact, I returned back to the office yesterday, and that was one of the things that I put out internally. Also in the light of a light controversy on the design of the license plate. And these are the questions that I put. Hopefully today I have those answers and I can make sure that you get them in the course of today.
Thank you, Stephen. Members of the media, is there another round 3 that you would like to go to? Alito?
Thanks again, Marcia. My question's for the Finance Minister. You mentioned earlier when discussing the budget that government revenues are going up. Can you give an indication to what kind of taxes are bringing those revenues in? Of course, that will give an indication of what sectors are doing better in the economy.
Thank you, Alita. What you see happening is that, especially in the construction, in the rebuilding of the country, there is a heightened activity. So where that is concerned, we are getting additional taxes. Well, not directly additional taxes, but it's moving upwards, because additional taxes you can only conclude after the fact to see what the difference was with previous years. Business community and people going back to their jobs also causes additional income. And why I'm saying, again, additional income, it's higher than we have projected based on the detriment that we were in a year ago. So you have to put it in the right perspective. But overall, you can say that, you know, the business community, the labor market, the construction area is getting in different gears. And it is very positive for the country, because everything has its own spin-off. You can also see that the interest from outside to invest in St. Martin is going up as well. And I was happy to see when I returned from vacation that the airport, when I was landing, I was wondering where the plane was going to land. That is how crowded the airport was. Outside at sea, the amount of yachts parked there, because there was no place for them in the lagoon. Why I'm saying all of this, you know, if you really look around you and you have a positive perspective of your country, you can see and you can notice the difference that is happening out there. And I'm very happy about that. I hope that gives the right answer to you, Alita. Thank you.
Thank you, Alita, for that question. Any further questions from the media? Stephen Cyrillian, you have the floor.
My question is for the Prime Minister. it has been reported that there is an outbreak of dengue in Jamaica. Looking at the fact that we are a tourism destination and we mainly, at least, use tourism to boost our economy and what have you, any steps been taken at this time to at least avoid such an outbreak on St. Martin? We know what happened during the times of Zika and chikungunya, of course.
Thank you, Stephen Cerulean. Thank you for that information as well. I was not aware of that, but I'm quite sure that the Ministry of VSA is on top of that, and I'm sure that they will do, as they did in the past, a joint collaboration with Friends St. Martin to combat the dengue or any other diseases as it relates to mosquitoes that have an effect on the citizens of St. Martin, including our tourists.
Thank you, Stephen Cerulean. Andrew Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you, Marcia. Prime Minister, we learned that there is an influx of Venezuelans to the island. How do you plan to address it? Because it will, from what I'm understanding, is that it will affect all areas, education, health, and welfare.
The influx of Venezuelans on the island. According to the information that I have received and the discussions that I have been in, indeed, there are some growing, the numbers are growing. And it is quite evident, especially in the morning times, if people go out and you see persons on the street looking for jobs. The matter is being discussed with the Minister of Justice. We have discussed it as well with the Minister Block, Minister of Foreign Affairs. It has our attention. We don't have the same problems that our sister islands are having, Aruba and Curacao, but nevertheless, it's a matter that we are looking into, and also we're having discussions with Friends St. Martin, because indeed, as you know, Friends St. Martin, they can seek asylum there, and we have no borders, so it's easy for persons to cross the border and come over to the Dutch side of St. Martin. So those are part of our discussions with Friends St. Martin and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands to see how we can combat that together, because it's a growing problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that question. Lyndon, you have the floor.
On the same topic, there's a crisis. For instance, St. Martin had Hurricane Irma, and there was thousands of people leaving for other destination. Now, the Venezuelan, they have an economical crisis. I understand that St. Martin cannot make any decision on that basis, but it is serious. The people of St. Martin are saying a lot of Venezuelans, of course they are human beings, a lot of Venezuelans are on the island, and they are desperate, and they are willing to do any crime for survival. And what the people are saying, something need to happen fast. Well, they come in from the other side, of the French side. They are not coming, most of them, through the airport. So the bottom line, the immigration, there's a small staff, need to be more visible and do something.
I take it that's a question for me. I think that I will use this forum to state that I think it's kind of unfair to state that the Venezuelans are doing crime, etc. I have not received any data from the KPSM or through the Ministry of Justice identifying any specific group of persons that are committing crimes on the island. And being the former head of the Civil Registry Department, I can almost guarantee you the numbers of Venezuelans here are limited, quite limited, in comparison to the amount of others that are living here on St. Martin. Do we have an immigration problem that we need to address and look at? Yes. Does it include those of Venezuelans? Yes. Venezuela is a prime, it has come to the forefront right now because of the situation that they're in. And of course, we have to also look at the humanitarian aspect of it and see how, as St. Martin, where we can assist as well. Does it mean that we can take in everyone? No, we cannot, because we are already overpopulated, and it's something that has always been a concern of the citizens of St. Martin and all governments. So to state that, I think we have to be very careful in as we relate to saying crimes are being committed by this specific group of persons.
I said desperate.
Yeah, they can be desperate, but other groups can be very desperate as well. But again, I have not received any statistics relating to that specific group of persons committing crimes on the island. But if we do get that information, of course, the public will be aware of such, and it has the attention of the Minister of Justice, and I'm sure that the KPSM is on top of what they need to do as it relates to curbing or immigration curbing the influx of persons, no matter where they're from, coming into the island, and ensuring that they also leave the island as well once their term is up.
Thank you, Lyndon, for that final question. Members of the media, the floor is now closed. No further questions at this time. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I would like to thank the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers. This brings us to the end of the Council of Ministers press briefing for Wednesday, January 9, 2019. I am Marsha Gomes Bopeltui. To have a safe and pleasant day.